Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, it's already NXT. Well, our main event features, of course, Ricky Starks, or should I say, Ricky Saints. I don't know why I keep calling him Ricky Starks. I mean, it's really getting annoyed for that, but for me anyway, will be challenging for the NXT North American title. So the real question is, can he pull it off? I guess we just have to see. And then, of course, we're going to go throughout the entire NXT show to see what really happened. But first things first, as you all know, recently I actually reviewed a German promotion called wXw, or known as Westside Xtreme Wrestling, when they had a 3-day tournament called the 16 Carat Gold. Well, I found out throughout the entire time there were other shows that were taking place around that very same time. And we're going to do two of those shows that happen around that. The first one is called Inner Circle, that takes place in the Wrestling Academy. And the second one, Ambitious, which is a small tournament that has like a bit of a technical aspect. And we'll get to that. And of course, as always, we cap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unavailable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have been said. So let's begin with our first review, and this is from the German promotion wXw with Inner Circle 17. Alright, wXw, Westside Xtreme Wrestling, German promotion. So as I said before, these shows happen during the time of the 16 Garrett event. Now this one happened a day before night one, and this was called the Inner Circle 17th. Now the venue was in fact inside, of course, the Wrestling Academy. So basically, yes, folks, they do have their own Wrestling Academy. So, and those who don't know this, Oscar Lobe, who you guys remember, he was a young lion who's currently been doing, of course, excursions in Europe, mostly in the UK and Germany, back and forth with Yuto Nakajima. Well, he actually came from that same academy as well. But we'll get to about him later because he features in the main event, which is how fitting. So our first match, we have Elijah Blum. I saw him recently in the 16 Karat Gold event. He faced Danny Jones. Now, not much about this guy I know who he is, but Elijah Blum is very interesting. But if you probably ask how this match ended, well, it was, of course, a very strong forearm right into the chest to Danny Jones, and just like that, he just stayed dead. 1, 2, 3. It was done. Next up, we have Anil Merrick taking on M4. So yeah, hopefully I pronounced it right. But however, this match ended with, of course, Merrick applying a underhook. What was it? Underhook DDT, and kind of like Death Rider in some ways. But just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Oh, never mind. He was not in the main event. Dumb luck me. Our next match, we have a interesting 6-person intergender tag match. We have Reika teaming up with Planet Gojira, Mark Empire, and Robert Driskeeter. Hopefully I pronounced it right. They face against the Young Bloods, Oscar Lobe and Yuto Nakajima, and they team up with Anita Vaughn, who is the current women's champion in the promotion. So you probably ask yourself, how's this going to be? I mean, if you look at it, this is before, of course, the Young Bloods lost the tag belts in a ladder match that took place on either night 2 or night 3, if I remember, in 16 Carat Gold. So they're basically the champions walk away. But I have to say there were some great moments in every part of this match. And it was, of course, what's her name? Vaughn, who picked up the win. Excuse me. Onto Reika when she applied a driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. Next up, we have Adam Priest taking on Josiah. Pretty interesting match, of course. Adam Priest has a bit of the technical aspects in this match. He was able to pick up the win when he applied a single leg crab hold on Josiah, and of course, Josiah had no choice but the tap. Next, we have, hopefully I pronounced it right, Arion versus Lawrence Roman. I have to say he's a pretty interesting wrestler, Lawrence, when I saw him at the 16 Karat Gold. Bit of like he has that same attitude as, of course, the Imperium, and he applied, of course, as always, the old school finisher, which is, of course, the power driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Next, we have Norman Harris, instead of Harris with Harras, versus Ryan Clancy. I don't think I've ever seen these guys before, but this match ended with Ryan Clancy applying a drop kick onto him. I felt like this was a weak move, but certain wrestlers are really good at using it, like Okada or possibly Meisita, and just like that, it was over. Next up, well, we have a very interesting tag match. We have the Astronauts coming all the way from Japan. We have Takuya Nomura and Fuminori Abe taking on One Called Manders and Thomas Shire. I thought this match was good because, I mean, if you guys ever seen the Astronauts, these guys are a good team, and not to mention, they're not afraid to face each other because they go all out no matter what. But in the end, it was, of course, Fuminori Abe who put Thomas Shire in a submission and forced him to tap out. And just like that, it was over. So it was a pretty good show, I'm not going to lie, but I liked it. So I think that's pretty much it with this one, with the show with wXw. So let's move on to the next one, and this one is called Ambition. Okay. Our next wXw show called is Ambition 16. This took place on the 8th of March, and this was around the same time as night 2 of the 16 Karat Gold event, in case anybody asks. And this is a very small tournament. Now, the only difference between this one and the 16 Karat Gold tournament, this one has a very unique aspect where it's either knockout or submission, kind of like what we see in in technical matches, or UWF rules, that type of stuff. And there were only 8 participants in this match, so this event. So, and we had 2 super fights, of course, involved in this one. We'll get to those too. So anyway, let's start with the first round matches. The first one, we have Thomas Shire versus Yuto Nakashima. This match ended with, of course, a KO by, of course, Thomas Shire, and just like that, it was over. So he moves on to the semifinals. Next up, we have, if I pronounce it right, Dieter Schwartz taking on Zosiah. Seen Zosiah, but I never seen this guy Schwartz before. But this one ended by submission, and of course, he moved on, of course, to the next final. Next time we have Fast Time Mondo. I never heard of a name like that. I mean, every time I hear the name Fast Time, makes me think about Fast Time Eddie Clark, or the guy from of course from Motorhead during the Ace of Spades era. But they face against Danny Jones. Well, this match, I think I have to say, was pretty good because Danny Jones has the technical expertise. Because I kind of noticed it, and when I saw Inner Circle, that's exactly what he was doing, and he won by, of course, a knockout, and just like that, it was over. Next up, we have Icarus versus Liam Slater. Well, don't know much. I heard of Liam Slater. No relations to Leon Slater, in case anybody asks. He picked up the win by submission by using one of those kind of like bending the arm to the back, and it worked. So he won his match and moved on to the semifinals. Now let's jump into that. The semifinals, we have Thomas Shire versus Zosiah. Well, this one, of course, won by KO, just like that. So basically, it was a knockout, so he proceeded to the finals. And then we have Liam Slater versus Danny Jones. Well, this one ended with a chokehold by Danny Jones onto Liam Slater, and of course, it was over. So just like that. Now we do have this thing called the super fight. Basically, is kind of like the technical aspect in this event, but do it. We have women's doing it. We have, of course, Jane Nero versus Masha Slamovich. Yes, of course, if you guys know this, Masha was involved in the 16 Carat Gold event, just like Thomas Shire. But this match ended by ref's decision because, of course, of chokehold, and just like that, it was over. Then we have our finals of the Ambitions event, Danny Jones versus Thomas Shire. Now, so far, these two guys either won by KO or submission. So that's exactly how this happened. Well, mostly Thomas Shire won by KO. Danny Jones only had one match with submission and one with KO. And the real question is who's walking out? Well, it was, of course, Thomas Shire, who picked up the win by submission, and just like that, he is this year's winners of Ambition. So I can't wait to see if they do this again next year, but pretty much that's how it rolls. So I'm very happy I got to see this. Now we do have another super fight event, and if you guys remember, I mentioned the astronauts, Takuya Nomura and, of course, Fumino Abe. They're known as the astronauts, a very highly decorated team and have a bit of the technical aspects. But what you guys may or may not remember, I mentioned this about them. These two guys are not afraid to fight each other because it's what makes them who they are. They're not afraid to face each other. They face each other like maybe over a dozen times. Yeah. And this is no different whatsoever. So many of you may ask that question. But the real question is, okay, who won what? I mean, I lost count, truth to be told. But in this case, this match ended with Fumino Ueda applying a submission, and just like that, it was over. So you probably know how that ends. But like I said, watching the astronauts fight each other, one of the best ones I've ever watched. If I ever get to see this in person, well, I'll probably enjoy it most. But that's basically me right there. But as we are done with wXw, let's move on with our last and final review, NXT. NXT. Now we open up with an interesting promo happening in the ring between Stephanie Vaquer and General Manager Ava. Now, Ava, as you know, has been having a bad feeling with the idea of Stephanie Vaquer becoming double champion. As you all know, last week, Stephanie Vaquer had defend both the NXT Women's Championship and the NXT Women's North American Championship on two separate times, but in one show. So basically, she made the decision to have this title vacant, and there's going to be a bit of a qualifier match that will take place in Stand and Deliver of a ladder match. But as always, I think many of you would ask, okay, if that's the case, who will be her number one contender for the NXT title in Stand and Deliver? Well, as always, Jordan Grace, who is now making her presence known, wants to stake a claim, but Jada Parker decided, oh, hell no, bitch, it's not going to happen. Well, things got out of control, and if you guys saw what happened, Jordan Grace tossed a security guard over the dang ring ropes, which is holy shizmet, just like that. But sooner or later, we'll see what happens. Now, we did see an interview with Obafemi. Of course, he is having his thing with Trick Williams and Javon Evans. So that kind of thing he knows he has to deal with. But of course, there's more. Now, as you all saw what happened with Stephanie Vaquer, don't you think for a solitary second that the women's division were not paying attention? So I think now is the time where, okay, who's going to step up to claim the vacancy of the NXT Women's North American title? That is a very good question. We do have one of those qualifier matches that will be involved in that six-person ladder match taking place. The first up we have is Zyra versus Last Legend. Now remember, Zyra and Last Legend, along with their tag partners, they've been having like bit of disputes about the women's tag team. So that kind of sets it up. However, as always, Jakara Jackson, who stands by Last Legend, was definitely going to try and interfere, but luckily, Soruka was there. But it was Zyra who picked up the win when she applied a somewhat of an F5, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, as you probably can guess, Briggs and Inamura are determined to win the tag team belts, but of course, Wes Lee, who feels like, sorry boys, it's not going to happen, so he's trying to say that DuPont and Igwe, but Inamura decided, how about show real armor and face me? So he decided to do it because he wants to prove that his point. But of course, Inamura is not worried because he loves craziness, if you guys ever seen him. Now, once again, Ava was talking to Kelani Jordan at the first inaugural NXT North American Women's Champion. Basically, she will be involved, but the one person who feels like she should be involved is the former NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. So that kind of sets it up right there. So anyway, now, as you all saw recently, NXT has been under siege by a group known as Dark State, but also known as, of course, to me, Shield 2.0. And I think some of you may agree on that. D'Angelo family was under siege by them when the Dawn was attacked by them. So last week he asked for intel. So everybody gave exactly what they discovered about each of the members, like Dion Lennox, Ryan Cutler, that sort of thing. But it seems like Stax, on the other hand, he's on edge about this. But the problem is he says that we should take attack on them, but D'Angelo doesn't think it's the proper course, knowing too well that these guys are well educated, well, prepared for what they're going to do. But, of course, we'll see what happens. Now, Hank and Tank, as you know, are trying to fight their footing as a tag team. Now, of course, they met the Hardys. What's their name? Motor City Machine Guns. And now Pretty Deadly. Well, they try to have them dressed like them. So that kind of set up. But however, they have to put themselves to the test to take on, of course, the No Quarter Catch crew. Was Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne. But however, this match turned badly, losing until, of course, they double teamed Tank, and Bourne was the one who walked away with the win. Now, we did see Trick Williams, as you know, who is determined to reclaim the NXT Championship. And Javon Evans, as you know, he feels like he's already making the way to the top. But however, he said something that pissed him off because if you all remember, history repeats itself again. Javon Evans reminded him, you sound just like Mello. Because in a way it's like this. Trick Williams did the same thing too. And Mello did not like that. So it's the same thing. And then, of course, Obafemi showed up, tried to get things in, tried to see what's going to happen. But however, Ava came up with the better solution that, of course, in Stand and Deliver is going to be the NXT title defended in a three-way match between Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans. But when things were already planned out, of course, things got out of control when they were attacking each other until Dark State took the advantage and attacked them. So just like that, they were giving the statement. Now, Mr. Chase, as you know, wasn't feeling too well, so Kel Dixon and Uriah Connors were determined to take him home until they stumble upon, of course, a fight between Jada Parker and Jordan Grace. So you probably can guess. Now, of course, Fraxium, as you know, they've been keeping an eye on with Hank and Tank. Try to get them to be on their footing until they were interrupted by guys you have seen on WWE Evolve, mostly with what's their name? WWID, mostly. Swide Ripe, Ricky Smokes, and Brad Taylor. So you probably can guess that those two, the Fraxium, just will have to deal with these guys too. Now, our next qualifier match for the NXT Women's title at the ladder match, well, we have Roxanne Perez versus Kelani Jordan. I have to say, Kelani Jordan was repeating the same old standards again. Roxanne knew exactly what she was going to do. She even tried to break her arm, but it did not work until Kelani Jordan had a shot and applied, of course, the leg split moonsault, and just the same one that RVD does, and just like that, it was over. Now, as you know, Ava has been under constant pressure over the recent attacks from Dark State. She told, of course, Mr. Stone and Stevie Turner that next week she's going to put, of course, Obafemi, Obafemi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams to team up to face Dark State. I'm sure they're going to not get along and just roll through it, but we'll see. Now, before our next match, which is our main event for the North American Championship, Ricky Starks talked about his match with Shawn Spears in hopes to obtain the North American title. But let's get to that. Now, of course, Ricky Starks has jumped into this. Everybody are calling him the outsider. But however, of course, he has to deal with the calling, of course, what's his name, Brooks Jensen and Nico Vance. Luckily, Ricky Saints took care of that one way or the other until he applied the Rochambeau, and just like that, he became our brand new NXT North American champion. However, Ethan Page showed up and ruined the party. So it looks likely that we could see the next person that would challenge him. And I would say I wouldn't be surprised if this match will take place at Stand and Deliver. So most likely that could happen. So we'll see what happens. But until now, we are done with our reviews. Let's move on with our next thing is, of course, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. As always, let's begin with upcoming events with the promotions, starting with GCW. As you know, on the 6th of April, this coming weekend, we have Philly Special. Another match have been announced. Richard Holiday versus Breaker Morant. So that's one match that's been announced. And of course, the next two matches announced will be on the Las Vegas events. First one is Bloodsport 13 on the 17th of April. They just announced Karrion Kross versus JR Kratos. So that's going to be one hell of a match. And then finally, as you know, we have Effie's Big Gay Brunch 19, I think. And it's going to take place on the 19th of April. Now, if you guys remember, I mentioned this. Effie said that he will defend the GCW World title at the Big Gay Brunch. Well, apparently, someone has answered the call, and that is, of course, Dark Sheik. And I know for a fact that match is going to be good. Now, moving on. On the 4th of April, as you know, there's going to be a collaboration between West Coast Pro and Big Time Wrestling called Battle of the Bay Area. Jaya Jewel versus Brett the Threat. So that's one match has been announced. Now, Marvelous, as you know, will be in Las Vegas on the 17th of April. They just announced another match. We have the legend Aja Kong. The rookie Senka Akatsuki will be, of course, taking her on. So that's going to be an interesting match. RevPro announced another participant for their high stakes event on the 20th of April. We have Charlie Evans. Black Label Pro has announced a very interesting match for these SCX3 that takes place on the 25th of April. Maki Hausen will be teaming up. Well, yes, Maki Ito and Dan Hausen. They take on Davey Bang and August Matthews, so that's going to be interesting. House of Glory announced for the Raging War event another participant that will be at the show on the 9th of May. We have the Pink Striker, Miyu Yamashita. And then we have, of course, um, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling for their upcoming event, the Northern Northern Rising on the 10th of May. Well, as you all know, there's a 20-man gauntlet match for the the Maple Leaf Canadian Championship. We have Billy Gunn will be participating in this one, so another name has been added to the whole thing, so it's going to be awesome. And then finally, as you know, we have Kitsune Women's Pro Wrestling. Names have been announced, but however, their dates will be different. Let's talk. We have Jin Sevani. She'll be participating in both shows here in San Diego on June 7th, and of course, the LA show on June 8th. And then, of course, we have Amazon, who will be Amazona, will be participating only on the San Diego show on the 7th of June. And then we have Nina, who will be participating only on the LA show on June 8th. So that's pretty much it for the upcoming events. Now, as you know, we have WrestleCon taking place soon. They just announced Evil will be actually participating. So yeah, that's pretty there. Now, as you all know, Mina Shirakawa is leaving Stardom to make her jump to the overseas. She had a nice interview with Yuji Nagata, and he asked her what is her goals in AEW. Well, she said that she wants to be a double crown champion, AEW Women's Champion, and of course, um, what's her name? Strong Women's Champion. So basically, she aim it. So I wouldn't be surprised if she wins the number one contendership at New Japan, and she becomes the next champion. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, as you all remember, I recently updated on Chi Chi, who was recently injured. Well, she said that she'll be out indefinitely, and she'll be revealing her timetable when she'll be returning. So stay tuned for that. And finally, now as you all know, Hikari Shimizu was the recent Yoshi wrestler that retired. However, another one was announced during Pro Wrestling Wave, and this one is of course Tae Honma. Now, keep in mind this event took place on April 1st, which is known as April Fool's Day. Well, she made it perfectly clear it was no joke. So this is what she said during her post-match comments. Let me pull it up for all of you. I announced at this after my match today, but Monday, October 13th, which is national holiday, Tae Honma will be retiring. The show will be held in Shinjuku Face, and the name of the show is called Ramuna Festa in Tokyo. So everyone, I guess only 6 months left. I want to engrave my image in your eyes and heart in all kinds of places. As I said on the mic, I will absolutely defend this belt until the very end. So I hope you will continue to support me to the remaining time. And please absolutely come see me in Shinjuku Face on October 13th. Thank you. Yeah, so it's interesting to hear that. But for those who don't know this, any of you guys are from the SoCal area, if you guys are big fans of Tae Honma, if you guys want to see her before she retires, she will be here in San Diego on the 7th of June participating in Kitsune Women's Wrestling. So this news kind of now made me think, okay, I need to get my ticket as soon as possible to go check it out. So I'm going to do humanly possible to attend it. I really want to see her before she retires. And I'm sure if I have any Tae Honma fans out there and my subscribers, if you guys are interested, go see it. So if you ask me, J-Rod, where can I check it out? Go to the Eventbrite and you can get it right there. So I did the same thing with West Coast Pro last year. But now I'm going to do this for this one. So for right now, we're done with everything else. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Dynamite. And then, of course, we have WWE Evolved. But recently, as you know, as we speak, we have the latest Stardom show in Corkin Hall, which features the, of course, Mina Shirakawa's last official match in Japan, one of her last matches, Her next one's on the 6th of April, where will be in Anjo, which is Tam Nakano's hometown, and of course features Tam Nakano versus Sayuri Anu. So that's going to be interesting to see. But as of right now, and of course we have New Japan, the Road to Sakura Genesis. That's one as well. So I don't know if I'll be able to do all of it due to the fact of what's been going on with me, but we'll see. Just keep your fingers crossed. But as of right now, I will say this, that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day.